Hello, welcome back to Intern-al Affairs. This is episode 2, and I'm joined by my friend Sydney from
Hi.
JCK. If you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell a little bit about what you do with JCK.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for, setting this up. I mean, this is like your project, and we would have never even thought of it without you. So thank you, Riley, our star intern.
Of course.
But yeah, I'm Sydney. I'm the program manager for the JCK Foundation, and yeah, we work within schools and communities, promoting mental wellness and really working to end the stigma around mental illness and kind of help-seeking behaviors in a way. But yeah, no, I'm excited, especially since coping skills. I know that's the topic for today. It's always something that I'm trying to work on. I feel like the kind of skills that I use also changes based on where I am in my life, my age, what I use in high school. It's definitely different than what I use now. So I'm excited to also kind of learn about what you use.
Yeah, I think even before we started this episode, I was going to call it coping mechanisms, and then you sent me your thing saying coping skills on top, and that kind of made me think, I was like, oh, coping skills is a better word for it, because it's not something you're using, it's something you kind of develop as a skill like any other thing that you would put work into and then have and be able to use.
Yeah, I feel like it's a practice.
Yeah.
It's not something that just stops, but you kind of have to work on it and make it part of your routine in daily life to be able to also remember it. Because sometimes I feel like when I'm especially when you use coping skills, it's when you need them most, right? When you're in a bad place. And when I'm in a bad place, I often kind of forget what helps me. So then using it, making it a practice in your daily life, I feel helps me notice what I should be using when I am feeling, that way.
Totally. Yeah. Said it perfectly.
Thanks.
But today, basically, I was kind of, the topic is coping skills, and, a lot of times when, you're learning about mental health, you're learning about coping skills and mechanisms to use, there's always, the same few that are used, the grounding techniques and the breathing techniques and, the sensory stuff, and it's kind of getting old at this point. I've heard it so many times. I know those things. I know the belly breathing. If you do not know those things, there are so many resources available to you, but I kind of wanted today to be more about the unconventional things that might not apply to everyone, but might be specific enough to help you. So if these don't work for you, that's great, but I hope you could kind of leave with at least one specific one or an adaptation of one that we're going to say that might work for you in a specific circumstance. Because I think those aren't really talked about enough.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. So, also I kind of wanted to talk about both of us and how we use them in daily life. I have ADHD. I'm a pretty anxious person, and so most of mine are gonna be focused on those two things and maybe a few others here and there. But that's for the most part what these are gonna be about. And
Yeah. So I'm diagnosed with panic disorder and major depressive disorder, and a lot of my kind of coping skills here have to do with panic disorder, because when I'm having a panic attack, it's hard for me to really gather my thoughts. So a lot of these things have to do with, just kind of quick and easy things that I can do. And some of them are physical things that I'll bring with me. That's easy for me to use, especially when I'm in a place where I'm not exactly in the best headspace to be able to think of different things to use.
Yeah. Perfect. So
do you want to go first or me?
You could go first.
Me? Okay. So I guess I don't know if I want to do one all right, maybe the physical ones.
Okay.
So I was gonna bring it and then I left it at home. But it's a Shishibo shape-shifting box. So it's what I like about it too is not only can you use your hands to make different shapes, but the colors in it are just very distracting. So it's just wild different colors, patterns, and so when I'm kind of using it with my hand trying to make random shapes, I also am distracted by the colors. So I feel we talk about sensory too, what can you see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and I feel those kind of hit those two, what you can feel and then also see. So it kind of distracts my mind in a really, really good way. And then another one is, this one I can't really use on a daily basis, wherever I am, but when I'm home, I love puzzles. Mm-hmm. It's something that I started during COVID, and it's so interesting because even though COVID like was that like stay at home was one of the hardest times.
Yeah.
You know, in my life, I feel like I was the best with my coping skills. Because I had all that time. So yoga was one of them. But puzzles was something I really got into, and I still use. I feel like it's sometimes it's a little childish, but I don't think so because it really does help.
Yeah, that makes
total
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Puzzles are fun. And the more
fun.
complex you get, the more...
Yeah.
It's also so rewarding, working on it over weeks and then seeing it all actually make sense.
Yes. And it's kind of like a metaphor too, because you have all these pieces and it looks so daunting when you see like 1,000 pieces on a table, like where do I even begin? But when things like slowly come together, it's kind of like you can, I don't want to say it kind of relates to hope, but it's like you know that it's going to be finished. You know you're going to get to the, finish line. It just takes a little bit of time. And, also I think the metaphor too is my dog tends to find pieces and rip them up. And I also just like my vacuum, when I vacuum, there's one on the floor and it goes away. But it's even like I started to even just cut out like little pieces out of paper and then add it to where it was supposed to be too. So it's imperfect, but it still fits.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, mental health where it's not always looks or it's going to end up how you expected, but it becomes a finished product at the end.
Yeah. You don't always need every single piece. It still has the structural.
Yeah, and you can figure it out. You can be creative, and even when like I find one that my dog chewed up, it's like it still fits. It might look a little different, but like it's still there.
Yeah.
So definitely puzzles are a huge thing. Those are like the two, the shape-shifting box and the puzzles are things that I can do with my hands. And also like with my panic disorder, I tend to scratch a lot. Like that's something that I'm still kind of like working on. But I noticed that, if I'm starting to like start scratching, I now can pinpoint like that moment and then go to something that I can use with my hands.
Yeah.
And that really helps. It's even when, people that I love that are around me that know that, they'll even notice it and say, Sid, like, go grab your shape-shifting box or something. So that's also kind of good. Having those people around you that won't shame you for it. Yeah. It took a little bit of time to like find those right people, but that kind of bring me, or at least like direct me to those good coping skills.
Yeah. I think the physical ones are really big. I use a lot of those too. If my desk at home is covered in like fidget toys and my drawers, you open them, they all like pop out. But my therapist actually like recommended me those, and I just went on a full like Amazon shopping spree. Yeah. But there's so many of those that I use when I'm like procrastinating a lot or I'm just stressed out and trying to like work on something late at night at my desk. I'll just grab at it, and the noisier ones like the fidget cubes and like there are these ones that I have, I don't know what they're called, but they're like silicone and they're like have like suctions and you squeeze them together. And then they, like, pop when they open, and I love those. I also have, like, the noodles that I could stretch, and I tie them in knots. But those I use all the time. I haven't brought them out of my house yet, but I'll definitely will be bringing them to college. Yeah. Because those are just the not noisy ones, at least. But fidget toys are great, physical things. Also, you're saying, like, with scratching, I have kind of, like, issues with skin picking a little bit. Yeah. What do you need for your car? It's in my back seat. It's my bag. Okay. But yeah, so I have like skin picking stuff. I'll like pick at like pimples and stuff like that. If anybody else deals with that, you know how hard it is to kind of stop, even when you really want to. But I found these things on Amazon called pick and peel stones.
So what are those?
Yeah, so it's like a rock. And it has, like, little holes all over it. They're, like, pores, kind of. And you have this, like, fluid that it comes with, and you pour it over, and you kind of, like, spread over the whole thing. And then it comes with, like, little tools that you wait for it to dry, which it takes forever to dry. I wish I knew that before I did it. But I put, like, the stuff on it, like, a month ago, and they're still, like, it's really hard to pick at.
Yeah.
So it's still, like, mostly covered, because it takes, like, a while to, like, even get, like, one little pore of the thing. Yeah. But those have been super helpful. I mean, there's, like, doesn't replace the feeling, but it's the closest that I've found of, like, a thing that I could do with my hands that has the same tactile of, like, oh, I'm, like, getting something out. But
I'm gonna have a huge Amazon cart when we leave here.
Yeah, I love those.
That. Yeah.
And let me see. Do I have another physical one? I think a lot of like tactile stuff, like taking like a cold shower, is really good for me. I like do most of my thinking in the shower, and like my mother hates it because the water bill is insane. But I will literally talk to myself in the shower, and I say like that's also kind of one of my coping mechanisms that I use when I'm really, really stressed out and I don't want to do anything. I feel like there's so many thoughts in my head. I will go in my shower. I'll like put it either really hot or really cold, and I will like talk out everything. If it's something I want to say to someone, if it's something that I want to do, if it's my schedule, I will just like talk it out with myself.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy, and I do feel a little crazy when I do it, but it's really, really helpful, especially because I feel like so many times I have thoughts racing all around my head. I have no idea how to tackle each thing.
You're like organize those.
Yeah. And so just talking it out in a place where like no one can really hear me. Yeah. So important.
Yeah, I mean when we talk about like being your own best friend, right? Like you're having a conversation with your best friend, you're having one with yourself. I mean it doesn't sound crazy at all. I think it's a great idea. I'm gonna try to do that too. Yeah. Try to have some conversations
my
with
shower
myself.
talks.
Yeah.
It's also like the water, like I just love like the feeling of water on me. I love swimming too. Like I recently started swimming, which I have another thing that I'll talk about later about that. But I started swimming to like work out, and when it kind of reminds me of The Summer I Turned Pretty, that show.
I've never seen it. I've heard of it though.
It's so silly. It's like one of those like YA novels that was adapted into a.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
But it's like silly. Like
okay.
but
I'm gonna try it.
It's one of those like rom-coms that's like, oh my god. And she swims almost every night when she's really stressed out about like her relationship stuff, and like that's kind of like but that's real. Like I swim and I feel like my thoughts turn off, and I feel like it's only just one stream of conscious, which I very rarely get. But anything with like water, having something on me, it makes me like it makes it so much easier to think about things, especially when I'm stressed out. But yeah, that's kind of what I use a lot.
No, I mean, I think that like hot and cold temperature. I was talking to a friend last night because yesterday I was definitely feeling my depression come in that I haven't felt in a while. So it's actually interesting. Like, it's okay, I'm going to see Riley tomorrow, so this is going to be good. But yesterday we talked about like mental health not being a linear process, and yesterday I was definitely feeling more down than usual. And when I do kind of feel that depression, you know, like creeping in, a feeling, or at least I notice when I feel numb. You know, It's not like really happy or even like really sad. It just is like a bland feeling, which is kind of, I think, what started the skin picking too, because it's like it brings some feeling. So I started to drink like really ice cold water. And honestly, like that even, it kind of brings a feeling into what, instead of feeling just like very numb, it creates like a sensation. So kind of, I think those temperatures too, I can totally see what you mean by like taking a really, you know, ice cold shower. So I've been drinking like ice cold water when I'm doing that. And it definitely helped me feel less numb to the point where I can kind of like think deeper about maybe why I'm feeling a certain way, or at least kind of even like going into those coping skills, right? I'm in like a headspace where I can try to think about that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it with that about I've seen a lot about ice baths, but how many people could actually have an ice bath? But also I've seen for like if panic attacks specifically, I've seen people like filling bowls of ice water and then just putting their head in it for like 30 seconds because that is supposed to shock the system, I guess. It kind of gets your like nervous system.
I haven't heard that one before. Yeah. I've heard like putting your hand in water, but I like that kind of like, it's almost like a cleansing thing too.
Yeah, because your face is like so like sensitive to everything, and like putting something on your face kind of has more of effect than a lot of other places. And I think like that's a really good alternative to people because everybody has like a bowl in their house that they can fill with cold water. But I've seen that a lot. I haven't used that specifically.
I haven't seen that before. This is why it's just so good to go over these kind of things. But no, I really like that idea. It's something that I'm going to try.
Yeah, let's see. I have a good one.
Okay.
This is kind of more specific. I don't know if this applies to everyone, but there's like a pyramid of like the needs that I try and think of whenever I'm stressed out. Do I have enough sleep? Do I have enough water? Am I fed? And those are the three things that can make me feel way more anxious than I would be feeling if they were satisfied.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have all those things in balance when you're in school, you play sports, out of school, have a job, whatnot. So it's a kind of a relaxed triangle. Like, do I have like a decent amount of sleep?
Yeah.
Did I eat today? Like, did I
we
make sure I was
forget
fed?
sometimes, especially like when we're really busy. And I mean, I said that I don't want to like distract from what you're saying, but like in high school, you guys are living life at such a fast pace compared. And I wasn't in high school like that long ago, and I feel like it's really there's like a million things that you guys are doing. It's I give you a lot of credit for that because life is really fast, and I feel like it's hard to slow down. But sorry.
Yeah, no, you're all good. But yeah, it is fast, and sometimes they never really are in balance. But for me, the biggest part of my triangle, like at the top, is sleep. I never get enough sleep. I have so much trouble sleeping. It's just falling asleep. Like, I get really bad anxiety before I go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I found something that works for me, but it's against every single thing that you're supposed to do before you go to sleep. Okay. Like, I will sit on my phone and I will scroll because it's the only thing that like turns my brain off.
Yeah.
Like, for other people, it makes the brain go crazy. That's what turns my brain off because I need to not think about going to sleep.
You need the distractions.
Yeah. And so that works for me. Don't feel pressured to like do what's the most healthy for you. If you need to get to sleep, do what works for you.
Yeah.
That's it, basically.
No,
but
I agree.
When I'm tired, since I'm always tired, when I'm extra tired, my anxiety just spirals. Like, if I have one anxious thought, one bad thought, if I have like a couple things to do that day, I will think the world is ending and I will have like a pit in my stomach. I will feel like there's no way I'm going to get through everything that I have to do. And I kind of have to tell myself after a while of thinking that way, a couple hours maybe, I'm like, okay, wait, tired thoughts don't count. And it seems simple, but I'm like, okay, today I'm having only tired thoughts. And they don't count. This is just today. I'm not going to, like, push them away. I'm not going to try and push them down. Like, I'm going to let myself think them. But they don't count, really. Like, they're not. It's just, real. Like, it's just a one-day thing. And then the next day, if I get enough sleep, the next time I get enough sleep, if I'm still feeling like that about something, then that's something I could look at. I could try to figure out ways to deal with it. I could talk to someone. But it's so easy to think that what you're worried about that day could, like, blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, relationships. Like, if I say something wrong to a friend and, like, they're upset, or if I'm in, like, an argument, it's so easy to be like, oh, my God, they hate me. And it's really, I'm just tired.
It's the irrational thoughts because of what's going on.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
So tired thoughts don't count. You could also do hungry thoughts don't count.
I've heard about the saying HALT. So, hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
That's good.
And I relate to the lonely part. I feel like when I am lonely, that's when I, even in my relationship with my partner, I'll, be more, I guess, respond with a lot of emotion when I'm feeling like lonely, but that's not exactly accurate to what I'm trying to say or trying to do. I actually got a dog to help with like loneliness. And that's been great. I feel like you can't really go wrong when you look at a dog. Like, you just can't help but smile.
Yeah.
Talk to my dog.
Yeah.
Forces me to go outside even when...
Down. I have both of those down.
Yes. It's like, and especially because we have an apartment that's all carpet. So, really, like, I can't even afford accidents. Like, I have to take him out on a walk when I need to. And it, like, forces me to get outside, which is good, which I wouldn't do if I didn't have to. And it's just kind of like something to, I don't know, just like keep you company sometimes. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but I also like feel like it teaches me a little bit of responsibility, and puts me on a schedule, which always, since I'm someone who acts best when I do know what my plans are, what my schedule is, I'm in like a better headspace. So, but I was going back to HALT, So loneliness. Trying not to act based on emotion all the time. That's something within that that I notice. If I'm lonely, I will not lash out, but I'll probably respond in ways that I'd regret in the morning. But yeah, no, I can relate to those kind of things too.
Yeah. I think you said about having, like, a dog, talking to your dog,
Yes.
walking your dog. I think I put on my thing, like, talking to, like, an inanimate object. And if you don't want to talk to yourself, if you want to talk to, like, a stuffed animal or something, or, like, you want to talk to your dog, like, they're just going to look at you. Like, your dog's just going to look at you, not say anything. Like, it's especially good because I feel like I need to practice interaction sometimes because I feel I have really, like, a lot of trouble, like, standing up for myself and actually, like, confronting people about certain things. So if I could, like, just say it to something and not have anyone, like, not anything back, I get my thoughts out and then I kind of remember the things that really stick out to me. But yeah, so, like, talking to something, and also walking your dog. This is, like, especially in the winter for me. When it's cold and it's dark early, sometimes I don't go outside all day because I'll be in school all day inside, and then I'll have basketball and I'll get home and it'll be almost dark. Yeah. I made a point almost every single day this winter, especially if I was having a stressful day, I'm going to walk my dog, and I said she needs to go out before the sun sets. So I would get at least 5 minutes of, I have a little dog, she doesn't need that much walking, but at least 5 minutes of sunshine before it was just dark and the day feels like it's, like, never gonna come.
I know. So true. And so, like, you had that and you made that, like, a practice, like a routine that you can do every day. Yeah. No, I like that because seasonal depression is so real for so many people. I feel like even just having, like, vitamin D, like, our body needs vitamin D. Yeah. So it even makes sense that when it's, dark out early, we're not getting those kind of vitamins too. So I think, because I'm a big person that I think that part of, the way we're feeling is, what's inside our body that can make us, feel a certain way, and then also, situational kind of things. But I do see seasonal depression as being something that both, like, situational, but also just, chemical, not having everything that you need to be your best self. But
yeah. I think with seasonal stuff, it's so difficult because there really is nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And what I've found also with that is, like, well, my therapist recommended this to me once, but I never ended up buying it. But it's one of those lamps. I don't know if you've heard. There's, like, sun lamps that you could get that are supposed to simulate being the sun. And she was like, I know people that just turn it on for 10 minutes every morning, and it makes them feel a lot better throughout the day. I don't if that's something that would work for anyone listening, then you could always try that.
Next winter.
Next winter. I think also what I really made a point to do this fall and winter, and I basically escaped my usual feelings of, like, seasonal depression, which are usually pretty bad. I made a point to, like, romanticize everything.
Explain.
I was like, it's fall, so I'm gonna go on a drive. I'm gonna take the longer route home that goes through all the trees. Okay. I'm gonna make a big playlist. That's one of my favorite things, making a playlist that matches, like, the season, because it's so easy to be like, oh my god, I just wish it was sunny, I wish it was this, and then just feeling really awful that it's not. Mm-hmm. But, like, having a list of activities that you could do when it is the season that gets you the most, being like, okay, I'm gonna look at this list. If I'm feeling really bad, I don't know what to do, I have no motivation, I'm gonna do one of those things that cares for myself.
Look forward to.
Yeah, I'm gonna make myself tea. I'm gonna find a tea that I like. And it's also good to prepare, like, in the summer, in the spring, for those things. And that was really helpful to me. I had, like, a list of things that I would do if I was feeling not good about the weather.
No, I think that's, like, now that it's summer, why not plan for that? We're in, like, the perfect time to think about what makes us feel good now, and then using those when those seasons do come along. Yeah. That's a really good idea.
I think the most important thing about coping skills is incorporating them into your life when you are feeling good. Because it's so hard to incorporate anything new or build a habit of anything when you're not feeling good, and that's when you need coping skills the most.
Yes.
So if you could develop those when you're feeling good, even if it feels silly, like, this isn't really doing anything for me right now, this is not helping, there's no reason for me to be doing these breathing exercises. And it's like, there is, because if you get in the practice of doing it, even a minor inconvenience, it's going to be almost automatic when you feel these big feelings come up.
Yeah. That even relates to kind of, like, what with therapy. So for me, there was a point, like, in high school when if I was feeling good, like, oh, I don't need therapy today. Like, I can just, wait until next week, or, like, when I have something that, I want to talk about. But now I've, like, within the past few years, I've really made it a point to go every single week and not cancel, not reschedule. Because even when I'm feeling good, yes, I may not have something specific, like, that I want to talk about, but what I'm doing is reflecting on, like, my actions and just different interactions with people in my life during the week.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can learn more about myself, but then also just even, thinking about how I can improve upon that, right? Like, there's, you can always, life isn't just something that stands still, right? Like, you don't stop growing.
Yeah.
So even when I'm, in therapy and I'm talking about different things, I feel like I notice that I pause and, like, actually, like, I think I could have done that a little bit differently. Or even just, like, good things. I like how I handled that situation. So just thinking about, like, how you said, thinking about these coping skills when you are feeling good. I know, because therapy is one of my biggest coping skills.
Yeah. Same.
And every week, it was something that, like, I kind of learned. And it's an expense. I will say that, like, therapy, too, it's understandable that sometimes it's not, you can't have it every week. Like, that kind of thing. But if you make it, like, a routine, no matter how often it is, it has helped me kind of better my relationships, whether it's romantic, friendships, family relationships. I just feel like I am more confident with my actions when I reevaluate or at least reflect upon, my behaviors in everyday
I've had
life.
the same experience. I had recently. I've been having a better year than this has been one of my best years, and last year was one of my worst. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me upset, but it makes me so happy. This is a good year.
Yeah, but last year, like, was awful for me, and then this year, like, I worked a lot on bringing me back to that baseline, and I think, like, going off of what you said, therapy, when you're feeling bad, when you're going through struggles, it's kind of to bring you back to that baseline. You don't get to work on anything else other than those things. But it's so important to continue it when you're back at that baseline, because that's when you could lift the baseline.
Yes.
And you could build skills, and you could reflect, and you could learn about what you're doing and what you want to do differently, which is not really possible when you're dealing with really big struggles that are impacting your daily life. And I had that same realization where I was super busy with college applications and everything, and I missed a couple weeks of therapy, and I was in a good headspace. I was happy. I had good relationships. It was all good. But after that, like, 3 weeks, I noticed, like, I felt like a weight was on me. And I was like, I haven't been able to, because you don't want to vent on every single person in your life. And a therapist
I struggle with that too.
Yeah, a therapist that's what it's there for. And it's like, I usually would talk to my mom about the stuff, but I don't see my mom that much during the week. I only see her when she comes home from work and I'm home, and I want to talk about the good things every day. That's what I want to talk about first. And it's so important to let out all those negative things, all those little interactions every day that are bothering you, all the things that you thought you should have done better, or just any little anxieties that are happening. And I said to my therapist, I was like, I feel like a weight is lifted. I feel so much better. I just kind of complained to her the whole time about the things that had been bothering me. But I was like, okay, I do need this even when I'm feeling good. Like, it's and I'm so lucky to be able to have that. Yeah. But yeah, there's some, like, there are different ways that you could kind of get rid of that negative kind of feeling. But that was such a good realization for me.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Venting.
Yeah.
Venting. So I think, like, I struggle, at least I feel like venting, you know how you said that you don't want to vent to someone, like, to people in your life all the time?
Yeah.
I relate to that, and I think a lot of people do, because you don't want to be that person that's constantly just saying negative things. I mean, I even had that with my mom at, previous time, where she said, I feel like all your conversations with me are always negative. Like, I want to hear something positive. or at least like can we try this because it's affecting me. And it's so understandable.
Yeah.
It's so understandable. You know, you don't want to, someone does, it's a lot of pressure to be the person that's receiving all of that, not negativity, but, you know, like worrisome too, or just something that, you know, it takes a lot of brain power to listen to someone who's, you know, talking about their struggles. So therapy, is a good, because that's exactly the place where you can, you know, vent. And I think also something that I'm trying to do, you know, I have to make it more of a practice, is writing down. And I like the term journaling. I feel like it's thrown around a lot. But I think more of, for me, it's gonna be like vent writing.
Yeah, that's the same with me, because I always see things about journaling, and people are like, if you get in the habit of doing it every day before you go to sleep, then you'll notice like a difference, and it's helped me so much.
Why do you want to do it before you go to sleep?
Yeah, I don't know
if I want to do that.
I think the thing about journaling is you need to incorporate it in your life in a way that works for you. Yeah, and because then it doesn't work. Because I tried to do it every night for a while, and there are days where I don't have anything that I feel I need to get off my chest.
Yeah.
And that, trying to force myself to write it, even though it's getting in a habit of something, I'm just like, I don't want to do it anymore because I feel like I'm making stuff up to write. And I started, like, a couple months back, I took out an old journal that I kind of never finished, and I just started writing about the happy feelings I've been feeling and the negative feelings I've been feeling, the things I want to work on, and really just feelings. I used to think I had needed to write about my day and things that happened, and it really is only important to write about what matters to you. If those are the things that matter to you, write them down. But for me, the way that I use journaling is once every couple weeks. If I'm feeling I need to get something out in that moment, I'll like actually think, I want to write this down, and I'll go grab my journal and do it. If I do it any other way than that, it feels redundant to me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You know, I like the idea of doing it in a way that works for you. I was even just like, this is, as you were talking, I was thinking about a high school class, an English class that I had. And before, like, for the first few minutes of every class, we would do, I think she called it a free write, but it was, you took out a piece of paper and you could not put your pencil down. Like, you weren't supposed to think. You're just, even if it was just like blah, 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 you like literally write the words blah, 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 like whatever's coming to your head, just writing it all down, not stopping, just to get, I don't know, like any of that, maybe things that you're...
Stream of conscious.
Yes.
That's what works for me. Stream of conscious.
That term, that's definitely what I was thinking of, and you just put it into words. But yeah, that kind of writing. I like that.
Yeah, I think just a lot of the coping skills things is that everyone is so unique. Yeah. And you need to do what works for you. That's basically the bottom line. And I think also one of my coping skills is like, if I'm looking at other people, I often compare myself to other people. I feel like everyone does. It's kind of part of being human.
Yeah.
But I will see things that other people do as part of their routine, and a lot of people talk about it, and it's like, oh, this helps me, and I'll try and do it. Like, I'll use working out, for example, because I play 3 sports. I like to be active. I like to, like, move around, whatnot, but I don't like to think about what I'm doing. Like, in a sport, I'm just doing what the coach tells me. I'm doing my sport. I'm doing it how I know I want to do it. I make my save. I make my play. But since I'm not playing sports anymore, it's been really hard for me to figure out something that works for me, something I want to do activity-wise, that doesn't stress me out by how much I need to plan and how much I need to think about it. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at other people who, like, go work out every day and it's, like, easy for them and it's fun and they look forward to it, I kind of have this envy. And I'm like, I need to do it exactly like them because it works for them. And I always tell myself, I'm like, things don't need to be hard. Mm-hmm. Like, there are so many things in life. Like, working out is supposed to be something you want to do, something you want to, like, move your body. It doesn't need to be the hardest thing in the world, and that's what it feels like until I found things that work for me. Yeah. And that was the thing with swimming. Like, I hate running. Me too. I purposely choose my positions. Like, do not make me run. That's my one thing. I do not want to do it. It sucks. It's not fun. Mm-hmm. And I ran almost every day of quarantine.
Really?
Yeah. And I went to, like, I never got
Do
faster.
Do you enjoy it?
No.
Or you just, you push yourself to do it?
Yeah, I pushed myself to do it. I never got faster. And after a while, I just felt really awful about it. Because I was like, I'm just slow. It's just not fun. I feel it's hot and I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And I've, like, remembered I went to camp and swimming was my favorite activity. By far. I, like, was always at swimming.
I want to see you swim now. You must be so fast.
I'm not fast. It's not like a speed thing. It was like a form at camp.
Okay.
But I wanted to get the highest level and I wanted to pass all my strokes and it was like a level system and I wanted to get the highest, which like nobody gets. And that was my goal. And the last summer that I did swim, like to get to this goal, I was swimming for 2 hours a day. I would come for like an hour and then I'd come back during my free periods and I'd want to do it every single time and I'd be so excited. And I was in the best shape of my life. I, like, got home and could run for preseason, and it felt good. And I was like, why don't I just swim? So I was able to join a gym that has lap lanes, and awesome. I was really, really stressed out about it. Oh, this is another coping skill I use. But, like, I have, like, a rule of 3, where it's like, I'm gonna feel really horrible and anxious about something when it's new for the first 3 times. And then after that, if I still feel awful, I don't like it, then I can stop doing it. But I need to, like, force myself to do that. Otherwise, I will end up quitting things that I actually could enjoy. Yeah. But yeah, so I had to go 3 times before the crippling anxiety of putting on a swim cap and goggles, and walking around in front of people, allowed me to enjoy it. But I love it now. I, like, want to go, even though it's far away. It's, like, 15 minutes away. But it's, like, it didn't have to be hard. Like, working out doesn't have to be hard. It has, like, it should be fun. You could pushing yourself is good. If you enjoy, like, pushing yourself, lifting heavy weights, like, it is hard, yeah, but it's a thing, it's a push you're choosing to make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's, like, this theme that we keep going to, that whatever works for you is really, because you're right, some people do love, feeling, like, completely out of breath and, like, pushing themselves. Yeah. I know that I joined a gym at where I previously used to live, and with the membership came, like, 5 free 30-minute personal training lessons. I went to the first one, and she made me do all arm stuff. I was so anxious the whole time because it was a room full of people, and I was like, this is a lot. You can do it. I'm like, okay. And I was so miserable. I was so anxious. I never went back for the 4 sessions. Yeah. But I was over it. Because why? Like, again, I didn't want, the fact I didn't go back proves the fact that, like, me pushing myself didn't help me. Yeah. So I don't like running. I love walking. And so that's been my new thing. I can walk for a long period of time and enjoy it. And that's how, like, I move my body. That's how I work out, is by taking long walks. And I'm getting back into yoga. Another thing that I started during COVID that I stopped. I'm really, making that a practice that I'm going to, like, really try to continue because I enjoy it. Like, it really helps my headspace. So those are, like, 2 things that I've noticed I enjoy doing. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're so right. It's something you don't, like, you're not going to want to do it, and it's going to serve you no purpose.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be as hard as it is. No. Like, look for alternatives. It is okay. Yeah. Is basically kind of what I need to tell myself sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that even, like, with sports, competition.
Yeah, I love sports. Yeah. But it doesn't work for everybody.
Yes, exactly. But then for, like, some, do you notice that you could be on the field for 3 hours and it feels like 20 minutes?
Yeah, sometimes. Okay. But I do happen to play goalie, which is a position that's very, like, I'm watching until it comes to me. So I usually do count the minutes, but sometimes it goes by in an instant. Like, if we're playing a great game, and sometimes I look at the clock and it's like 5 minutes left of half, I'm like, wow, I feel like we just started. Yeah. But I have to be, like, in it. But yeah, sports is also a really big thing for me because I'm a bit of an angry person. If I get angry at things, I do, like, if you've ever driven in my car, you know that I have, like, verbal road rage. Like, someone will do something stupid, and I know they're gonna do it because I know that people are stupid. Yeah. And I just scream. I'm a stupid driver. No, I mean, I am too. You probably have yelled at me before. No. The other day, I was at the stop sign. I have 5 stop signs, and I had my left blinker on, I didn't know, and the person across from me was making a left turn, and they started, and I was like, why are they going? I'm going straight, and I looked, and my blinker was on, and I was like, oh my god. And then I had to sit there, and I kept driving, and I'm telling myself, it's okay, like, they might not know you're sorry, but you're sorry, and that's okay, like, it's all good. I had to calm myself down, because I felt so bad, but, yeah, but it's just, like...
It gets out the anger of the sport.
Sports, I can actually, like, take it, well, not necessarily take it out on someone, but I'm like, oh, I could kick the ball as hard as I can. Something. I could kick the ball, I can I can hit my stick on the ground, I can hit my stick on the goal. Yeah, but like lacrosse, if they put me in the field, I'd be getting yellow cards every time. Like, that is...
But you know that, and you found what works for you, like the position that works.
Yeah, where nobody can touch me, I can't touch them.
Yeah.
I'm as loud as possible. Oh, I love screaming, too. Screaming. I also love crying. It's, like, a big thing. Like, don't cry in a game. Like, don't do this. Sometimes I need to get off the sideline and I need to cry.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm trying to get pity for everyone. Like, crying helps me so much. Like, I'll be in the middle of a day at school sometimes, and I'm just like, I need to cry right now. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. And, like, that's to a certain extent, because it's, like, if you're just, like, really, like, you're letting yourself be in a space where you can cry for an extended period of time, that's never helped me. It might help you. That's never helped me. I need to, like,
I relate to that.
Do a quick cry, wipe my face, get back on it. That is so helpful to me. And, like, trying to stifle it, trying to stop it, like, letting the rock form in my throat. No. I just need to do it.
Do you feel like, at first, were you embarrassed about like, having to leave and cry, but now you're, like, comfortable with it?
Sometimes I do it in class. Like, that... but
you feel okay doing it.
Yeah.
That's so important. That's so important. Because I think that, I mean, I know for me, there are times when I'm just so embarrassed about crying in the middle of a grocery store. But... you know, that's okay. That's when it comes out.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you ignore, like, that you're, you know, it's a part of life.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's
like,
really...
what are the tear ducts for?
Really...
Yeah.
It's inspiring. That is.
Yeah.
It's so true. Crying is how you get things out. You need a good cry once in a while. You really, really do.
And some people don't need to cry as much. Some people...
Yeah,
it's, like,
true.
it's different for... I have a very high cry threshold. I need to cry, like, a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And, like...
I agree. I cry a lot.
And if I tried not to, like, it's like, why hold it back? This is who I am.
Yeah.
I like to cry.
Yeah. I've been crying in the car a lot, but recently I've allowed myself to pull over to the side of the road and cry because I've noticed that it doesn't have, like, it's also not safe to, like, be, like, sobbing.
My contact's falling out, and I'm like, where am I going?
I know. And I'm not a good driver to begin with, so, like, that's not going to help. Yeah. But, yeah, so I've been pulling the side of the road, and I've been letting myself cry.
Yeah. So. I also love, speaking on that, is, like, liminal spaces. Kind of, not liminal, but, like...
Wait, I don't even know that word.
In between spaces.
What does liminal mean?
Kind of in between. Like, there's no, like, purpose of that. It's kind of like a transitional type of... I don't know if I'm actually saying that right. Fact check me. But I think it's that. But, I have this thing where I love driving because I get to listen to, it's like listening to music and, like, doing something. My brain needs, like, multiple stimulation.
Yeah.
So I will always take, like, the longer route home if I can. I will listen to that extra song. I'll do whatever I need to because I love driving my car. I used to be so anxious. I used to think I was going to die every time I got in my car. I still do think that sometimes, but they've just kind of gotten quieter, those thoughts. But yeah, so I will sit in my driveway for hours. Like, I'll get home, and I will be in my driveway for an hour, over an hour sometimes, and everyone on my street knows. They always see me in there. I think they think I live in my car. But I'm, like, listening to my music. I'm going on my phone. And I'm transitioning. Like, there's no purpose of me being there. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going in my house. But that is, like, my space to decompress from the day. Because I don't have to talk to anyone. There's no expectations. I can just sit in my car. Now it's harder because it's summer, and I'm not going to sit with the car running. Yeah. So I do have to get out a little quicker. But it's just my thing. Yeah. Finding a space where you can do that. Whether it's, like, a bench on your walk home from school, like, in your car, like, I don't know, anywhere you can find.
Making that your space.
Yeah. But that's my, and I learned that from my mom, because she does that too. She does. Sometimes we'll both get home at the same time, and we'll both be sitting there for, like, 20 minutes, and she's just, I'm like, hey, Mom. But yeah, that for me is important.
I'm trying to think. Should we go to another one? Oh, should we talk about coping skills that help you, but realistically you just can't have? Because I have one, which is gardening. So, when I moved out of, my family's home for the first time, the kind of like, I guess it was not really an apartment, but we were on the main floor of a complex, and I had a little patio.
Mm-hmm.
And like just gardening has been something that I love plants. I love plants. Like they just make me happy. I love seeing that if you take care of something, it will grow.
Yeah.
And it will look beautiful. And so for a year, even in the winter, I'd buy plants that will survive in the winter, and I would go outside, and it was a very small space, but that was my space. Just go and watch things grow. And yeah, so that was kind of like the car. Like that was my like safe place. Then we moved recently. Like we've been at our new place for like 4 months. There is nothing like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, contact with the like outside. There's no patio. Even like I can't hang things from the top because we're on the top floor.
Mm.
So I've been trying to figure out another way to get that, I don't know, like get that coping skill back in a different way.
I might have something for you.
Do you?
Okay, so I think this is like, a lot of people say vision boards, which that's a lot of work. But I think like Pinterest, I love Pinterest. If I feel stressed out, and I'm a doom scroller, I will get on my phone and I will scroll and I will feel awful about it and I need to do something, I'm procrastinating. Pinterest is a safe space. Pinterest is like the best social media, I think, because there's no words. You're not reading anyone's opinions. Yeah. And it's very like, it's a good algorithm. So you start liking things that you want to see and they'll come up. And if I feel stressed out and I'm like, I can't put down my phone, but I can't look at what other people are saying about anything anymore, I go on Pinterest and I look at the pretty pictures, I save them to my boards, and I like organize them and I make it all look all pretty. But if you have like gardening, if you feel like you want to garden, you can't. Yeah. And you could just go on Pinterest, you could have your gardening board, you could save your pictures, and then when you do have time for a garden, you do have space, that's what you look at first. You're like, oh, I've been spending all this time, I've been gardening, like mentally gardening. Yeah. And now I have all this inspiration to make it.
That is brilliant. And that's so brilliant. And even just like planning for the next, when I have my new garden, like trying to like place out what it would look like.
Yeah, and Pinterest is so easy too. I have like 30 boards. I love Pinterest.
Oh my God, it's another thing I'm going to start doing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is extremely, extremely helpful.
But yeah, it is hard when there's things that you can't do.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to think of another one I think that was the only one. Let's see. Is that the only one? I guess, well, thinking about my, like, the new place where I live, there's a Barnes & Noble at a walking distance.
Mm.
Another place when you talk about senses, I feel so overwhelmed in the best way at Barnes & Noble.
Mm.
Like, there's just things everywhere, whether it's, like, games, books, little knickknacks, because I have a knickknack problem.
Mm-hmm. Me
But
too.
I tell myself, but I tell myself if I go in, I can only spend like $10. And then if let's say I go in, I don't spend the $10, then I put the $10 towards my next Barnes & Noble trip, so it can kind of like add up. But
love Barnes & Noble. Love bookstores.
Yes, bookstores are so that's something too, though. Like if you don't have a bookstore near you, like luckily,
Love libraries. I sometimes at home feel so overwhelmed. I don't even use my desk anymore, really. When I was talking about using my desk, I meant like before it stopped working.
Okay.
But now I was on a very big library kick since last year. Every time I needed to do anything, I would go to a nearby public library, depending on the hours, which one was open. Love libraries. I will go in from open to close on a Sunday. For like 5 hours, and I don't need to be productive the whole time, but I'm so much more productive than if I were to sit at home. But or coffee. I'm on coffee shops now, because then I could get my drink, I could get my breakfast. That's what I've been doing.
I know Kevin likes to work in coffee shops, and I feel like that's especially, I think there's one like by Croton that's a coffee shop and it also has a bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like next door. Yeah, but anyway, so coffee shops.
You get the smells. You get the smells of the coffee.
Yes.
You get you hear people, which in a library you don't really get.
With loneliness too.
Yeah.
I'm trying
you're all around people that are doing their thing, talking to people. If you get bored, and I always go on my phone, and it's so bad, and I have a phone problem. But like when I'm in a coffee shop, I could eavesdrop, and that's more exciting than my phone.
Yeah. People watching.
Yeah.
People watching.
And then you kind of get out of your own head for a while because you're really focusing on what they're saying. Cause they're maybe a little far.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what are you talking about? Let me hear some of that. But yeah, those really help me because it's a lot. It's kind of like Barnes and Noble.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But I spend too much money on Barnes and Noble. That's why.
Maybe do like the $10 thing like I do, and then you can just let it add up a little bit.
Well, I don't live as close to one, so I wait till I read all my books, then I go. Okay.
And then good. We'll have to make a Barnes and Noble trip soon.
Yeah.
An intern Barnes and Noble trip.
That would be sick.
What else? I'm trying to think. Watching a funny show. Kind of like how you go on your phone before you go to bed. I like watching a funny show before I go to bed. Been watching Friends and The Big Bang Theory. I've probably seen those like twice full from like start to finish. But I kind of like that I know what's going to happen, where I can have it like in the background while I'm doing my puzzle.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
A comfort sitcom.
Yes.
Those are important. Or a comfort podcast. I do some of those sometimes.
Yeah.
I do that when I need to do something. Like I need to clean my room. I'll put on like Sex and the City, which I'm watching right now. So I don't really need to pay attention to every detail, but I can pay attention to most of it and get the whole gist. But that, I get that a lot.
And I feel like even just rewatching shows that you've seen before.
Yes.
For me, I have a hard time like watching certain movies because there are specific things that trigger me. And so at least I know if this is my relaxing time, I don't want to be triggered by something just because I don't know what's going to happen, you know? So putting on things that I've seen before also like takes away that worry of me possibly going to bed feeling triggered by something. Yeah. So, I don't know, something that has helped me. But, yeah, comfort shows are great. Yeah. They're really, really great.
Comfort any media, really.
Yeah.
Be a comfort
music,
movie.
Yeah, anything like
also, that. It's on, like, the music thing. Something I do is when I'm really stressed out, instead of listening to music I know, because I can still think over that, I'll put on, like, Discover Weekly on Spotify. I'll listen to only new music. Because then it's, like, I really have to, like... Yeah. It's the first time hearing something. It takes my attention more. You want to focus on it. Yeah, and that's really helpful to me. I think also another big one for me that I use quite often is, especially in the winter, putting on a nice outfit. So in the winter, it's so easy. Like last year, I would wear sweatsuits every single day. And it was what I needed to do, but it made me feel a little bit worse. Because there was no distinction between like being at home in bed and being in school and having to do things. But if you are feeling even a slightest bit up to it and you want to and you can put on a nice outfit that's not super uncomfortable, which might feel uncomfortable, but like it feels so much better to me when I'm dressed nice. I just feel more productive. I feel more ready for the day. I feel like I can take on more because I already showed up looking better than I usually do. So true. So true. I kind of started to get in the habit of right when I wake up putting myself together. Because I definitely I have my own I'm a very insecure person when it comes to like look wise. So if I'm not put together and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm not gonna get as much done. So like if I'm gonna have a productive day, I really do try to like make myself at least like presentable in a way that I feel happy with myself. And you know, like looks don't mean like yeah, it's not important, but I do when we talk about, you know, feeling good, like about yourself, and if you know what makes you feel good, that's what I've been like kind of trying to do, starting my day so that the rest of my day I feel like good about myself. Yeah. But that's same thing. Like if you're like during COVID, I mean, I definitely wore sweatpants like way too often, and I got in the habit after it was over, like you said, like you just, you know, it's a habit, and so you kind of forget about it, but. I really like that idea, too, of just getting yourself dressed up and it's not for anyone else. Even if you have nowhere to go. If you want to get stuff done at home. Yeah. Put on a pair of jeans. Put on, like, a shirt that's not, like, your sleep shirt. Yeah. And you're not going to be as comfortable lounging around. Yeah. Like, sitting in bed, which is what I usually do if I put on something super comfortable. and it gets me up, it gets me moving.
Yeah. I think that those things too are like, it's not for anyone else.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
not trying to like impress anyone. It's literally just for you, and that's what's like important.
Yeah. It's up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think that's like kind of what I had. I mean, you gave me a lot of new ones to use.
Oh, one more I have.
Okay.
Is like teaching yourself something. If you're feeling stressed out, new skill. Specifically, something you could make with your hands. That's super important. Like you see, I have my little bracelet string.
I love that.
But there's something like that happens in your brain when you yourself put something together and make it, not using any type of machine, not like printing something out. And like art in any form is great coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And if that involves like computer or anything, that is great. But I think there's something so special about like learning knitting, learning crocheting, making like a friendship bracelet, whether it's for yourself or a friend, even if you don't finish it, just like seeing the knots form. It's like I can't think of anything else when I'm making a friendship bracelet because I'm just so focused on like getting all the knots right. But those, or even like cooking, you like watch yourself put it together. I think that's the last one I have actually.
Yeah, no, it's like those distractions. That's another like common theme that's like just come about is anything that distracts you from, in a positive way. Yeah. I think that positive distractions are always, they do no harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I have one more actually.
Yeah.
So this happened to me recently, but I know I have irrational thoughts. I used to think that my irrational thoughts were real.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started talking about it in therapy. I worked really hard to like kind of differentiate like what I usually think when I'm in a good mood, when I'm happy, when I'm feeling good, from what happens when I like kind of have anxious thoughts. I go down a little spiral.
Rabbit hole.
But I'm now able to acknowledge them, but I still have them, obviously. Like, they're never going to go away. I'm always going to have those irrational thoughts, and it's going to be hard to, like, put them down. But I had all these really crazy worries about college where I was, like, really putting myself down, and this was after I got in and everything was set. I knew where I was going, and I kind of thought I was the only person having these, like, crazy imposter syndrome thoughts, and then I talked to one of my friends on the way back from a lacrosse game, and we talked for like a full hour, and we went back and forth talking about the craziest things that we said to ourselves about like how we're not actually smart, how it was a fluke that we like got where we are, that we're like going somewhere where we enjoy, and we just laughed. We laughed at them because they were so ridiculous, and we knew they were ridiculous, but like seeing someone have the same thoughts and then also be able to laugh at them and like actually verbalize them, really feel how ridiculous they are, it was very freeing. I think doing that, whether it's talking to yourself, whether it's talking to your friend, or just kind of think, like, something so important about voicing irrational thoughts, making them real, it's just, they're so ridiculous sometimes.
John says it all the time, that when you talk about these irrational thoughts, you say them out loud, it takes the power away from them.
Yeah.
It's so true, but I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
No, you're all good, I'm done. Yeah, they're just funny sometimes. You gotta laugh.
I know, I like that you're, like, using the humor
love humor. Always. That's always.
Yeah. I mean, you're funny, so it helps. You are very funny.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Everything is funny if you really try hard.
Yeah. Or you can, like, twist it to make it funny.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of going through stuff, is you can make it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's all I got.
Oh, we got a lot of them, though.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of them.
That was great.
Like another 30 minutes, basically.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Should we close it out?
Sure. Sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh my gosh. No, okay, so I'll say that again. Like yesterday, definitely was feeling that depression come in, and I was looking forward to today, and I, sometimes force myself to like get up. I knew this was gonna be good for me. It was so good for me, and so I really want to thank you for like giving me this opportunity to just share and to also learn from you. Riley, we appreciate you very, very much, and this was awesome. This was awesome.
Yeah. Again, thank you to Stockroom Records for.
Yes, thank you. This place is so cool.
But thank you for coming again. This was awesome. I learned a lot. I hope anyone watching learned a lot.
Yes.
And stay tuned for next episode.
Yes. Bye.
Bye everyone.